on today's agenda, and I'll hand over to staff now to talk us through that item. Oh, I should ask, are there any conflicts of interest for this meeting that aren't already captured? There have been none. No? Tim, over to you.
Thank you, Sam and councillors. Yes, the purpose of today's meeting is to adopt the long-term plan consultation document. Also adopt some key information that that document relies on, and these include a number of strategies: investment strategy, financial strategy, the financial forecasting assumptions, and the growth and demand report. We also would like the council to adopt some key policies, and these are listed in the resolutions, and those key policies are going to be adopted, going to be consulted on at the same time as the document. And also for the council to note some other supporting information that will be available to the public early next week, Jen, I think. Look, before we start, just want to draw to your attention that we've needed to make some formatting changes to the resolutions, just to make sure the right documents are in the right place in the resolutions so they can be adopted. I'm talking particularly about the financial and infrastructure strategies. I guess to get this point, we've had something like 14 workshops and a number of meetings. You would have seen all of these documents before on a number of occasions, most recently the financial strategy this morning, but they're now included all in the Diligent in the current folder. So you've seen these before. And I guess really this is, the consultation document really just enables the community to engage with us and be part of the decision-making process. So the consultation document sort of identifies the key issues and the choices and provides a level of transparency that allows the community to be informed about the council's long-term vision, goals and resource allocations. So that's as way of introduction. I'll hand over now to Jen and Catherine to take you through the report.
Thank you and good afternoon. I might just reiterate some of the things that and reinforce some of the things that Tim has said. So today's session is around process and the formalities that we need to go through as a council to go and have that conversation with the community on what we're proposing under the for our long-term plan. And this conversation is a precursor to any decisions that you may make as a council as to what is included or not included in our long-term plan. So it's engaging the community in that discussion with us. The Local Government Act requires us to facilitate these discussions with the community through a consultation document, which is why we have this consultation document, which is designed to explain what we're intending or proposing through our long-term plan in that document. And as part of that, we're required to provide a number of key supporting material that sort of provides a further basis for the community to go and have a look at how we've come to some of those proposals that we're putting forward. Those are outlined in section 4 of the report. Tim mentioned a couple of them earlier. In practical terms, the documents tabled for adoption today, as Tim said, we've had 14 workshops. It is really a reflection of the work that Council has done to date, and this started back in July 23, where we started looking, I don't know if you recall, I know it's been a long journey, but we started looking through our assumptions, our growth predictions, where we knew that we'd adopt a high growth prediction for the CLTP based on what's gone on in the past and what's been predicted. We also went through that really early engagement to sort of get a feel about what was important for the community. And then we've done all that through all the other workshops that we've done and setting the direction, going through the budgets, all that sort of stuff, right through the finance strategy that we worked through today. I was having a little bit of a think about the numbers game and what we've been up to. So on top of the workshops with council and informing that, we've done 3 hui with mana whenua to get their views and input. We've done a very extensive early engagement piece, which had 2.5 times more people participate in that process with us. So the community has been engaging with us so far, which bodes well for our consultation phase. Also, in saying that, our staff and our teams here have done quite a lot of extensive research and planning and modelling to inform all those workshops and the information that we've brought forward to you. I won't mention the number of PowerPoint slides that you've seen because I know it's So another point that I'd just like to make is that though we note that we've been going through the process that we're going to go through and submitting a consultation document without an audited opinion, it doesn't mean it's void of audit input. We have been, the auditors have seen our consultation document, and we've been working with them to incorporate feedback and taken their feedback into account as we have prepared the document. So in terms of a process summary from here, if I just go back to my sort of basic way of thinking about things, we've done the work today to produce a draft LTP. Today is about the formal processes that will enable us to take that discussion to the community. And that sort of comes through consultation processes and the hearings that you'll have the opportunity to hear from the community in those two vehicles. And from there, council will have the information that they need to make some decisions on what finally ends up in our LTP. So this part of today is really the formality, is taking that discussion to the community and ticking all the boxes to make sure we've put all the right things in place for that. Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else within the whole report that you would like to discuss or share? And then we'll come to debate on any of the items.
Not at this point, I don't believe, Sam. I don't.
Well, councillors, as you're aware, this is quite a different long-term plan consultation document than those that were put out to the community 3 years ago, 6 years ago, 9 years ago. The level of investment to meet the growing charges required to meet our infrastructure requirements, not only to look after what we've currently got, but to prepare for a growing community, means that the numbers this time at 15% look a whole lot higher than what has previously been a conversation with the community. Really want to thank staff and councillors for the work that we've done over the last 6 months to get to that point. Certainly wasn't the starting point, and costs had looked a whole lot higher. So Sharon, thank you for the work that you've done to bring that number down. As hard as this conversation is at 15%, it's a better conversation than the 25 or 30 might have been when we first started this conversation. So we appreciate those cost-saving measures and the work that you've done internally on that. Councillors, this is the start of a process of conversation with the community. It was actually probably the second stage of that conversation. We've already heard from over 800 of our community as they've engaged early in this process to try and inform the type of long-term plan we've developed. Now is the second stage, which is more formal and requires a number of us to be involved in meetings with our community, asking them to formally write down their submissions to us, engaging with some of the content and video that our comms team will be putting out. And in the end, I hope we all encourage those that submit to come in person and talk to us here so that we can actually understand and ask some questions around their submission points. And I look forward to that in a little over a month's time. We'll be going out to a community for 4 weeks of consultation, and I'm looking forward to hearing from as broad a range of the community as possible. And thanks to the staff who are working to enable that to happen. Malcolm.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate your comments, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank the staff for getting us this far along the journey, because a journey it is. A long-term plan is always a journey. And as councillors, every 3, 6, 9 years, we look forward, refresh, see where we've got it wrong in the past, see what we could have done better. I'm not particularly happy having to go out at 15%, but it is reality. When you look at Selwyn and we look at our growth report, which we mentioned earlier this morning, 64% growth, we have a huge amount of growth ahead of us and the challenges that brings. We have built projects. The OPEX of those projects has to be funded. We've perhaps been a little bit kind in how we've set our rates in the last few years, and that is coming home to roost. I look at this as a journey, and I'm very much looking forward to the public coming to us and making their submissions. And I applaud the comms package we're putting out with this. I think we're going about a great way. And I would like to move these recommendations 1 through 7.
Thank you very much, Tēnā rā tātou katoa. I was going to second it, but we've got a seconder now, so that's done. Reaffirming some of the comments that have already been made, Koro Matua and Deputy Malcolm. I'd like to particularly acknowledge mana whenua, te paumataho, te rautaki tikakarua as part of the draft. Certainly been a journey, and a journey that this particular long-term plan is confronting information, but also in the effort to reduce apathy this time around, there will be potentially a lot more work involved in going through the submissions, and I hope that we get a good response from the community, given the level and scale of investment that's required to continue to provide services and well-being for our community. So happy to support the recommendations along with Malcolm and Bill. Kia ora.
Yeah, just some of the costings that you came up with before, like the difference in roading and all those. Will there be some of that will go out for consultation for people to see as well? Because a lot of people are asking the question, why should it go up this high? Some of those things help.
Sharon.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. So that information that came out from the LGNZ package, our comms team have that, and that will be available and fed into the packages and toolkits that we have available.
Thank you.
And overall, for anyone that's watching this meeting, it shows that the lift in year one for councils across the country is looking at being between 6 and at the lowest and 25% at the highest range for year one in a long-term plan, with an average of 15.3. So our number in year one is about middle of the pack for the rest of compared to the rest of the country. And LGNZ's done some analysis over the cost increases for particular builds over the last 3 years, and has shown that bridges are 38% more expensive to build today than they were 3 years ago. Roads and water supplies are 27% more expensive to build and maintain than they were 3 years ago, and sewage systems are 30% more expensive than they were 3 years ago, averaged across the country. So that's just to do the things that we knew we needed to do, as well as existing new challenges that our community expects of us around climate change and transitioning to a low carbon economy, the infrastructure demands and the growing district, tourism and visitor growth, and the needs to meet the infrastructure related to their visitation, and emerging biosecurity threats that we have across a broad district such as Selwyn. So that's some of the data that we'll make sure is available to everyone. Thanks, Bob. Deborah.
Look, I'd just like to thank the staff for the hard work that they've all put into through this, especially the new staff who have come on board, who have had a steep learning curve in local government from outside the organisation. So I appreciate all the work that you've done. I'd also like to thank the person who actually typed up the document, because I could only find one mistake. And it was a spelling mistake on page 58, 305, nitrate water, 5th paragraph, and it should read investigate. I can give it to you, but I just thought, I'm not the only one writing up reports that types and everything turns up back to front. So, but thank you very much to the typist who typed it all up, because that's the only mistake I could find. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Lydia.
I'd like to say thank you to the staff for all the hard work that you've put into this, especially under immense pressure and the challenges that you've come up against. When I read the document, I have concerns around information and transparency. And I guess what I'm thinking about here is, what are the community able to submit on? And I have concerns around that, and how our deliberations will progress change when there's limited information for ratepayers to submit on. I look at the document and I think, where are the departmental budget breakdowns or budget lines, or the historical CapEx projects for the community to give us feedback on? And I think it would have made sense for the ratepayer to have an eye over these. How do they tell us what they think, and how do they tell us how to save things or to change? And And for instance, you know, a $22 million budget line for Cycleway, the Alps to Ocean, it's removed from Community Matters. So how do we tell them about that? You know, when these things are missing from sections. And I guess, yeah, those are where my concerns are.
Thanks, Lydia. In terms of our annual reports are quite explicit about our financials. They're public. We can have copies of annual reports. In terms of submissions, past experience in different places have told me that our community will provide submissions on a very broad range of issues, and it can be quite surprising how well informed our community are. And I've got no doubt that the community will give us some food for thought, positive and negative, through this process. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the hearings and the deliberations, councillors will give the CEO some guidance to any further work that we need to do and undertake. So. And at the end of the day, part of the councillor's role is to be that voice on behalf of the community too.
So, Sophie.
Yeah, I'll just join everybody in Zouse in saying thank you very much to many hundreds of people's worth of work. So for anyone listening in, we're passing around paper copies. I guess one thing that I've just wanted to say is it's actually good to see the whole list of all the different other policies that feed into this in our recommendation today. So it's not just the document, the consultation document, which is fairly large in itself if you're trying to gain somebody's interest. If they look at that and they want to find out more information, there is heaps more. But you know that if you present somebody with 1,000 pages to start with, they will just go, no. So I like that this consultation document it gives you the starter information. And sure, it doesn't give you all of the information, but that information will be available. And when we look at things like the new infrastructure strategy layout, and even the change in layout of the long-term plan consultation document, they are a lot easier to read. And I find that a lot more accessible now than previous times when we've taken these things out and we've gone to drop-ins, trying to actually engage somebody in a document that looks boring and is full of numbers and graphs, and it doesn't feel like it's something you want to engage in, and then you just get put off. We want people to be engaged in it. And I think for all that it's not going to be a pleasant topic to talk about because nobody likes rates, but it gives you a better way of illustrating what it is we're needing them to give us information on and their thoughts. And if there are particular projects that they've heard about or that they know they've submitted on in the past and they want to know where they are, they will be buried somewhere in an activity management plan. But that can be found. It will be online. It will be available at service centres and everything. You can do a search for particular keywords. We have the technology, and if you're struggling to find it, you do have counsellors who you can nag to help you find it. That's part of our job. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Sophie. Elizabeth.
Well done on creating a visually effective, simple to read, and a really well designed booklet, because this creates that opportunity for, as I've mentioned multiple times, people who don't want to read vast pages to be able to cut down bite-sized chunks. The only thing that I can see that I'm missing for me, we've got how to make a submission and then sort of an 0800 Selwyn number, but is there, I thought initially we had some links where people could go in and find additional information to each particular stage, like if they were looking at just one thing, they could find a link for it. So just go on the website. Okay. Yeah. All right, that's cool. So if I go to, I don't remember what page it was. Sorry, I've just been flicking. I shouldn't have done that. What we have now, page 32. So what we've got is all these community centres, and on some pages before that, we've got the cost, the breakdown of for your rates on community facilities. The question we're probably going to be asked is that the current cost of what it costs us to service all of these on page 32? Because we are looking at a divestment policy, or is that what we're planning to put forward as well as considering divestment? And I guess people are going to say, hey, how do I talk to the divestment? So Sharon or somebody want to talk about when that whole divestment thing is going to come up, because that's a topic that's on everyone's minds at the moment.
I could perhaps talk to that. There's going to be a report tabled at the Wednesday meeting next week, which will outline a schedule of the various pieces of the work project associated with the community facilities network review, as well as aspects of consideration of alternative usage of certain facilities and halls. So the dates will be outlined in a general sense for council next week. And as I understand it, and so people can correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't made any decisions yet. So the costs are as they are. So until such time as those things are taken out of our budget, we can't take them out of our budget.
And one more thing, Sam, I think hitting on what Lydia is that I guess, is there any chance we can go back to LGNZ at some point in the near future and talk about the rating system, because the rural communities are facing massive hikes in comparison due to the fact that it's percentage based? And yeah, like it's actually gravely concerning what's happening in our rural sector, and we don't have a lot of rural representation around our community, around our council, and with the representation review, then that's going to lessen. And so I feel that that's a voice that's being lost, and it's an area that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. The rural representation around the table is exactly equal to everyone else's representation around the table, because everybody's elected by the same number of electors, plus or minus 10% when we did the representation review. And Phil is going through that to set up for the next election at the moment. But as far as the rates piece goes, yes, we will be, well, this council has said for a long time that the way of collecting rates is very, is broken. And LGNZ has said that as well many times, because across the country we see, we've set at 2% of GDP as rates for councils since for 120 years, with ever increasing demands on our community, with no ability for the growth within a district to be reflected back into the investment required from a council. And so LGNZ has been doing a lot, as our council has, to make sure that the government understands that the current rating system for local government isn't fit for purpose anymore and needs to change. Megan.
Yeah, kia ora. So my first engagement with the long-term plan was actually as a consultant for Christchurch City Council, where I had to go through their long-term plan and go, okay, well, what are the parts here that are important for mana whenua? And it was thousands of pages, and it was a line item approach. And when I talked to my colleagues at the time who were working in there, they said this led to members of Sumner saying, New Brighton doesn't need that, we need this. And so I just want, there's been a lot of congratulations to the staff, and I agree with that, but I also want to congratulate the councillors for doing this differently this time. And my view is that this document is strategic. It is going out and saying what are the really big important decisions that we have to make as a community and we want to hear from you on, because there's other things that we just have to do, like providing cemeteries and toilets and you know, drinking water and wastewater. There's things we just have to get on and do, but there's some other areas that actually there's we do need some community direction. So I think it's good, and I just wanted to endorse it and say it's supported by me. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Nicole?
What I have to say is much the same as everyone else, but thank you to the staff. I mean, I know there has been a lot of time that it's taken to get where we are, and I think we are, you know, we're in a good space at the moment for this consultation. And essentially it relies on our community now coming back and responding to that so that we can hear what they, excuse me, what they have to say. But there are challenges which has been brought up, and some of those, I mean, the increase in rates, and that's something that I don't think any of us are happy with that, but that's the reality of what environment that we are in at the moment. So, and it's interesting, as Sam has said, about the spread across New Zealand of the different amount of rates, and we are sitting in the middle. So if that can be taken on board and thought going forward, and also particularly what you're getting for the services, and that's all put in our consultation document, because council, basically the services we provide, you're dealing with them every day. Your water, your wastewater, your roads and everything like that. More so than at times government services and stuff like that. So that has to be taken into account as well, and definitely look forward to seeing what submissions we get back. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. And as a couple of people have highlighted, the expenditure is on stuff that just has to happen and our community expects us to deliver. And there's a graph on page 62 that I think really highlights that the expenditure forecasts. And it shows that water, wastewater, stormwater, and transportation, the bottom 4 areas of that graph usually they're adding up to above 80 and sometimes 90% of the expenditure in the periods that we're talking about. And so while some of the time we like to focus on what's happening in a community that we might see above ground, and we get to enjoy with our families and be a part of things within our community, actually a huge part of the expenditure within the budgets that we're working towards is the water, is the wastewater, is the transportation networks. And so helping our community see that, although we've highlighted some of the other stuff in our Big Four decisions, I think is an important part of the process over the next month. We moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye. Anyone against? Declare it carried. We now move to the end of the meeting. Unahia, Te Pou, kia wātia, ai kuawatia. Kia ora koutou, everyone. Thank you for your time today.